As always, leaks are questionable and subject to change. Refusal to listen, toxic positivity. We are back to this as Veilguard QA have come forward to say the unsurprising fact of working in a systemically woke industry. Quality assurance gave feedback on the woke parts of the game that the audience would hate, and were told that feedback would be ignored entirely. Remember this, they know the people who might buy their games hate this. They have QA telling them. We can guarantee that people warned them on Concord, Killed the Justice League, and now Veilguard of what would happen. But ideology wins over profitability. You play Rook, who is sidelined and not important because the devs want you to know you are not important. The least valuable character is the one you will be RPing, because this is not an RPG for the player, it is an RPG for the developers. They are playing out their fetishes and want to force them upon you. Choices are very limited in everything. Choices are especially limited if you play a straight male. According to leaks, they want you to pick something else to get the full range of choices because they despise the main audience, straight men, and want a different one, aka modern audience. And according to the leak, this is an objective fact. Romances will happen between companions without your consent or agency. They do not want the player to feel consent or agency because, again, this is an RPG for the devs, not for the players. They want to subject you to their story, not forge your own. Mass Effect and Dragon Age have long given romantic options, companion death choices, major options regarding the fates of characters or factions, and choices that would carry on to future games in the series. Barely anything carries over in this one. The previous games just don't matter. It was leaked there will be three choices across all of 3 massive games, Origin, 2, and Inquisition, as well as their DLC. Again, BioWare popularized games where choices matter, with major changes in the world and the people you know. Leaks also include, the Canary companion does the straight-up, I am a non-binary introduction that feels out of place, but is all too common these days. This is a very typical trope for these characters, where they will at some point put a pause on whatever is happening, take center stage, and go, by the way, I am an X-gender who prefers having sex with X-type people, and my pronouns are X and I am associated with X real-life culture. This is a very telltale sign of woke ideology and very poor writing. That they want to pressure you to like or dislike a character immediately based on their social traits. This is why often, if you see a character list in a modern game, you can tell immediately which characters are going to be considered good guys and bad guys in the game. Consider for contrast Renly in Game of Thrones, or V in Arcane, or Dion in Final Fantasy XVI. Notice that at no point do they introduce themselves in this way. And that these are not what defines them. And by extension, these are characters that are widely liked across many diverse groups of people. Solas, Varys also have been sidelined because they are legacy male characters. They are in the trailer and starting part in order to member bear you, but they barely matter after. After all, they are characters that established fans like, so they have no place in the current narrative. There are also signs of technical skill decay, as the facial features are reportedly comparable to Andromeda, which is never a good sign. The Inquisition Inquisitor is corrupt, evil, and unimportant regardless of what you did in the last game, because it resembles Christianity in the dev's mind, and thus must be portrayed as evil. Again, wokeness means all things in game must resemble something in real life, and be portrayed specifically to match their personal beliefs. The new Grey Warden Davrin didn't finish training. He is basically a squire. Yet, despite that position, he will be deciding everything for the entire Grey Warden faction, despite that making no sense in the lore, all because he is black, even though it doesn't mean anything in the Dragon Age world. This is one of those things that was criticized for not making sense by quality assurance, yet all criticism discarded. The Fade portion is apparently very boring and uninspired. It is mainly just walking around, and the game is full of fetch quests and boring side content. Again, these are all leaks. Like factory basic DEI, the only thing missing is something bafflingly heinous. Sort of like Assassin's Creed Shadows making official merch with the broken Torii gate that represents Nagasaki being nuked. Though perhaps the major shock is just how utterly atrocious the Canary look in this game. Naturally, woke influencers are already concocting lies to preload its failure. As typical, to blame an imaginary far-right menace. They utterly ignore the 2.2 million view trailer with 45k likes to 286,000 dislikes. Gameplay trailer with 4.6 million views and 88k likes to 122k dislikes. No, there is no way some fringe group is going to have 250,000 dislikes on a video with 2 million views. Not only is that an astonishing 84% dislike ratio, but means a staggering eighth of viewers decided to leave a dislike despite the dislike system being hidden. Like every thoroughly woke project this year, the majority of gamers hate this. These trailers gave ample warning of how people think, and when it fails, it will be fully predicted. But they will ignore the main audience, the hundreds of thousands leaving dislikes, hate this, and instead go after a handful of content creators and act like those people are entirely responsible for the failure of a game with decades of lore and fan base behind them. Because they want to gaslight you into believing a couple of YouTubers have so much power they can decide which games succeed or fail, as they have been trying to do all this year. I used to love BioWare. I grew up on Neverwinter Nights, Dragon Age, and Mass Effect. The BioWare magic is dead. BioWare turned its back on the IP and on the fans. There is nobody to blame but BioWare, not the fans. Although the influencers trying to convince them that this time, surely, completely wokeifying your product will work, do get a bit of an assist on this one.